Good now, everybody, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. This is your place for helpful Web3 news, commentary, and answers to your crypto questions. My name is Evan, and I am so grateful to be here with all of you today, whether you're watching live or you're catching us in the future on YouTube. I hope things are nice there. Let us know, leave me a comment, and then let us know what your crypto question is. If you're one of our friends who's watching all the time, especially if you're watching on YouTube and you're watching all the time, then leave me a comment and let me know about it. And if you're somebody who's here on TikTok all the time, welcome back. Ethicalish, I see you. I see Emily and Mia. Nice to see you. Frank, welcome everybody. We're live Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we will be live again tonight at 7 p.m., 12 hours from now, to do Rise Up After Dark. So tell all your friends in another time zone that this is the place to be if they want to get a better understanding of cryptocurrency. And then don't forget to check out all the resources at theriseupmorningshow.com, because we've got the stuff you need. We've got the newsletter. We've got all the streams and videos that go up to YouTube. And we've also got, you ready for this? The Rise Up Morning Show Discord. This is where the show lives 24/7. And coaching, premium memberships, all kinds of perks and benefits, most of which is totally free and only missing you. So find it all at theriseupmorningshow.com. Thanks for hanging. Alex, brother, how you doing today?
What's up, dude?
Oh, man. You remember when people used to ask what's up and people would be like, the sky?
It was a dark time in human history.
Like just total comedic idiots. I was so tempted to respond that way. No, man. All I have to say is that Michael Jackson, the musical, is fire. Kim and I went to see it last night. It was her third time, my second. And it was fantastic. It was fantastic. That's all that's up with me. What's up with you? Did Jordan smash some kids in a football game?
Yeah, it was a good game. So their first game, I technically am not counting as the first game of the season because we forfeited after not even the first quarter. I don't know if there was like a miscommunication with something. The rec department is a nightmare. It's a mess. It's just like pure chaos this year. But we got out there, and the first thing we all said is like, these kids seem huge. And they were all twice the size of the biggest kid on our team. And like, I don't know if you've seen kids lately, but they make them bigger than they used to make them. So there were kids on this other team that definitely weighed more than me. And
middle schoolers, yeah.
And so, I mean, and they were just getting absolutely demolished. There's nothing they could do. I mean, these kids are humongous. So we're like, okay, this is either the wrong age group that got mashed up, whatever. So the coach is like, dude, my kids are going to get killed. So he called it, and we rescheduled it, and we had a different game. And so last night it was with people who were like appropriately sized, and they did very well. They only let one touchdown in. They didn't score, but compared to, like defense did a good job. Jordan's he's a lineman, so he's out there, just picking up kids and walking, and you could tell he was getting pissed because by the end he's like, collaring up kids and just walking them back that are a foot taller than him, and you could see they were like not expecting that from him, little cannonball. So he did good.
Good for him. When I was a football player, I was a lineman, and I stunk at it. I was just terrible. I was not aggressive. I didn't like to, hurt people. I didn't want to be hurt myself. I would have been that kid who got picked up and put down. Good on Jordan. Well, we've got some questions starting to roll in. Ethicalish has some for us, and I have a question that I got in a DM. I'm actually sending a DM to this person to say, can you join us live? But do you want to take this question from our friend Ethicalish? As I remind folks that if you have a question and you're one of our friends like Ethicalish, and you just want to ask us, you can come on up here. Mike, thank you for the tiny diny. You can come on up here. We'll get you in, rotate you down. Sometimes it's easier that way. Or you can ask us in the Discord if you need more characters to type out your specific situation. That's discord.gg/riseup. And then if you're not in the Discord yet, you got to get in there, because that's how we want to do the show. We want to be able to talk to you and get to know you. What do you think about what Ethicalish asks about could ETH go lower? They think Sol and so many other things might outperform at this run.
Yeah, no, it's a worthy topic, I think, just because it's kind of acting a little weird. While I answer that, Billie Jean, if you could clarify, what do you mean? What is going on with XRP? Because I was expecting to see something incredible, and I'm looking and it looks like it's exactly the same as it's been for about a year. So I'm not sure
what is going on. I didn't know anything was going on.
It is as stable as ever. Okay, the Ethereum thing I think is interesting because I've been seeing some more stuff. I've been noticing that ETH is dragging price wise, and most things are kind of struggling right now, just because that's the state of the market that we're in. Right, like a ton of the liquidity went into Bitcoin, and then it's not necessarily in a position to flow back into more of the alts, which has sort of led into this like alt bleed that we're seeing, and not the alt run following a Bitcoin all-time high that maybe people were expecting. Although I do like to remind people that alts did have a pretty solid run. It was just not, it didn't present exactly the same way that we are used to seeing it present, which is definitely throwing people off and throwing the cycle off a little bit, I think. But
well, everything was so far down and kind of crept up a little slowly, less explosively.
Yeah. No, and it's one of those things like dominance. ETH compared to Bitcoin has been plummeting for a pretty long time, and it's getting bad. And I think that one of the big things is that layer twos are just becoming so much more viable and getting so much more money, and they're offering more funding and they're offering more grants, and there's more people who are just existing exclusively on L2s. There's more options. There's so much more competition, and I think that, interestingly enough, this was the baby hypothesis that I had the other day. We spent so much time last bull run. Evan, I know you heard this a million times, and honestly, the bull run before too. We're just like, okay, what's going to be the thing that kills ETH? Everything is the ETH killer. It turns out that it was just everything all at once. Not one thing being the thing that was going to take the place and flip ETH and become number two, and all of a sudden be a bigger network. But it was just this conglomerate of like 40 or 50 other networks that are viable, that function, that you can build an app on, that you can move money on, regardless of which one you're a fan of more than any other ones. But that dominance is kind of starting to flip. So right now, Ethereum, TVL, is more than every other layer one put together, but not by much. It's probably like 51 or 52% if I'm doing shitty math in my head. So somebody fact check.
That seems about right.
Last I looked, it was about 46 billion to about 82 billion total. So 82 billion total TVL across all ecosystems, 46 of that on Ethereum. So I think that is kind of the ETH killer, is just the fact that there are 400 more options now. And I'm being hyperbolic. There's not really 400 that are viable.
But Alex, can I jump in there to say a lot of them exist now, magnitudes more. And this is a real serious conversation, especially since most of them are L2s. Because the way the incentives are set up is it competes, unfortunately, directly with Ethereum. There's a really interesting conversation happening in the Ethereum community right now about whether or not L2s are parasitic. And Solana is a good counterexample because of the infrastructure, the way it's built up. What do they call their L2s, Alex? Extenders, network extenders, is that right? The term they're using?
Which L2s?
I mean, like people like Mert at the Helios, that are built.
I'm not sure that I've seen a specific term used.
And then we can get into it in a second. I just wanted to quickly make the point that this is not just ethical, it's just observation. People are observing like, hey, it looks like many of these L2s are not in fact scaling ETH, but that they are taking stuff from it. I heard a stat the other day, Alex. For every dollar that ETH makes, for all the activity that somebody like Arbitrum generates, ETH collects fees. Right. But guess for Arbitrum specifically, for every dollar it sends back to ETH, how many dollars Arbitrum makes?
For every dollar that Arbitrum sends ETH, how much does Arbitrum make?
Yeah, like I'm Arbitrum, I'm doing stuff, I'm settling to Ethereum, and therefore I pay them fees to use their network and roll things up and batch transactions. And it's a good deal for them, supposedly. But guess what that deal actually looks like in practice? For every dollar I send them, I am making.
Wow, I really don't know which direction to go. So for context, I have no idea.
It's tough. It's honestly, it's hard. I didn't give them any context. They're making $287 for every $1 in fees that ETH makes. So if the argument is, don't worry, we'll help you scale with fees, it's like, with it's wild.
It's astounding
Structure. And really quick, Alex, because Monkey said it in the comments, that we're smart about this. I happened to catch a really good conversation on Unchained where somebody was debating this. One person was talking about how L2s are parasitic on ETH specifically, and the other person said, no. The long-term vision of Ethereum is that the whole global economy will be on chain, and when they are, they will be on ETH or on ETH L2s. And at that time, at that scale, $1 for every $300 Arbitrum makes won't matter because the scale will be so big, ETH is going to make it. Do you have a horse in that fight? Do you think that all this scaling is, in fact, you said ETH killing. That's what you said, they're ETH killers. Do you think this will be like a killer thing for ETH?
I think it's tough because volume and TVL is definitely siphoning away from ETH to go to other things, but all of those other things are also EVM compatible. And I always think about the analogy or the comparison that I draw in my head is history lesson. When Detroit was exploding and booming and just a bustling metropolis, they built a massive highway leading into Detroit. And it was thought to bring tons of new people and tons of new, vitality and help the city grow and expand even more. When in reality, what happened is that people who were there because they didn't have the ability to get out just left. And actually, the highway was mostly used at first to siphon a tremendous amount of the population out, which led to a swift decline in the outer rim of Detroit, which is why now if you are in the area, you will notice that the outskirts are basically, it's just dying from the outside in. Bustling, beautiful, dense city right in the middle, sketchy on the outsides. And for the record, I lived there for many years. And I think that ETH in this example is obviously Detroit, that we have, this platform with the Ethereum virtual machine that everybody wants to be involved with and work with and be able to talk to. And instead of, I think that it's starting to lose a little bit of steam for me. I'm not ready to throw in the towel by any stretch. I'm still a big fan of Ethereum, and so much important infrastructure rests on Ethereum. However, I don't think we can ignore that, while something like Avalanche is EVM compatible, how much is ETH actually benefiting from Avalanche's existence and, capturing a percentage of the market share and doing its own thing and working and all that good stuff, yes, we can bridge. How beneficial is that to ETH? So I think there's some credit to the statement that, these things are, I think parasitic is a strong word, but absolutely, you'd be blind. You'd be kidding yourself if you looked at the TVL spread and said that we were getting, dollar in, dollar out, for ETH value with all of the other things, even if they are ETH tangential, to thrive and benefit, for sure.
No, but that's the thing is, I wonder if all this benefit can be measured in dollars, and I wonder if all of it can be measured now. To Ethicalicious question of will it go lower? I absolutely think that if things keep going the way they are, that in the short term, it could go lower. Well, I expect that in the long tail of things, I just don't know when, that I really do think the global economy will move on to Ethereum. That companies like, for example, Eigenlayer, they're the first example that usually pops to my mind, but also like Arbitrum, like Base, will leverage the security and usability of ETH to really scale, to provide services for the rest of the world to use. And we could go into nitty gritty specific applications, but I think when that future comes, that first of all, it'll be long enough away. It's close, but it's long enough away that people at the Ethereum Foundation, the dev community, they're going to see it coming. And I think that people are active enough that we can build different incentive models. The guy in the other corner on this debate that I listened to was talking about how right now, there are layer ones that have scaling built into their infrastructure such that they won't be competed by parasitic L2s. And his examples were Polkadot and Multiverse X. And I would say Near is probably one, and probably Algorand too. He was specifically talking about blockchains that use sharding, that it's terrible that ETH has foregone this because it forces them to rely on L2s to scale. And it seems like they have given up on scaling the L1. But I don't know. I just think in the long-term future, if people are using it, that makes it valuable. The bigger the network is, the more valuable it is. And I would count L2s in that. Whether or not the dollars accrue at the L2 or at the L1, I mean,
yeah. So there's a couple extra factors to consider too, right? Like, because the thing that most people are interested in when they say, value in is just the sticker price on Ether. And so of course that is going to be influenced by multiple things. And of course, one of the things playing into the price, the negative price action, in my humble opinion, is the launch of the Ethereum spot ETFs, which are not popular ETPs by any stretch. There's not been much volume at all. Plus, we have coordinated sell pressure from the Grayscale Trust side selling ETH. Plus, we have the standard selling of Ether from the Ethereum Foundation. Plus, we have negative, macroeconomic data and negative, overall crypto market sentiment. Plus, all of these other things that we're just describing. So there's a lot of stuff going against it right now. So honestly, one could say it's kind of impressive how resilient overall it's been, considering the fact that I can list 15 things going against it right now and not really a whole lot in the way of big attention grabby, dopamine satisfying, buzzy things that are going for it right at this moment.
And in terms of how ETH will survive, that's really the question. They've got to the validators have to make money, or they're going to go to networks where their incentives are stronger. If there isn't a strong foundation for L2s to build on, then they will crumble. So it's an issue, but I don't think it's an imminent pressing issue. The poker is in the fire and it's heating up. They're going to have to do something. But I don't run out and stop using Ethereum and EVM compatible.
Maybe we just need Vitalik to post another cartoon picture of a bull holding a flag that says Ethereum is good.
Vitalik, if you're out there, put down your girlfriend and pick up your Twitter. Can I pivot us to another question, and then can I hand it over to you, because I know you had that beautiful long list. This is my last question for the day. I got a comment from somebody who have had a lot of great comments recently. Let me say too. I feel like there are many people who are getting in touch with us as we create content who are touching crypto for the first time. These are our favorite people. Not that we don't love everybody who's been here hanging out with us, but if you're one of those people who's really just starting to learn, or maybe you're curious or skeptical, you haven't done much in the crypto space yet, you're wondering if it's for you and you're feeling a little shy, I just want you to feel seen. Not like called out, but seen. We're here for you. This is a question from one of those people who they were sending some tokens, from their crypto.com app to their ledger. They wanted to move these crypto tokens off their exchange into cold storage. And Alex, they encountered an error. And the error that they're getting is invalid address. Something I think a lot of new folks learn, and I certainly remember learning, especially as I was starting to swap more stuff, is can you explain a little about how some wallets have a native format, how tokens can live on multiple different networks? Do you see where I'm going with this? And how when you're sending cryptocurrency, you have to, I'm not sure how to simplify it. You got to make sure it's BEP20, ERC20, whatever, that kind of thing. Can you give them that spiel?
Yeah. So if I'm reading you right, what I assume you're asking me about is just the inability to send tokens that live one place to someplace they don't live.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And help people understand why that matters. Like, it's called XRP. Isn't it XRP everywhere? It's an unhelpful labeling problem.
Sure. Yeah. So I think probably the easiest example would just be let's strip it back and talk about just like USD, a stable coin, USDT Tether, for example. It lives on almost every single blockchain that exists. So for example, I just took payment for a job in USDC, and we had to discuss beforehand. Like, hey, are you cool with accepting USDC? I say, duh. And then, I'm like, my first question is, okay, where do you have it? Are you sending me AVAX USDC? Are you sending me Solana USDC? Are you sending me base USDC, ETH mainnet USDC? To tie it back to our original conversation, if you're sending me ETH mainnet USDC, I'm going to question your judgment. And I'm going to tell you,
probably going to cost a lot.
Yeah. So, they reply, okay, it's base USDC. Great. Okay. I know exactly which address to send you. I'm going to just grab my MetaMask address from the base, my base account. And it's like, okay, sweet. Now there's a lot of synchronicity with addresses now to where my base MetaMask address is the same as my ETH MetaMask address, and MetaMask parses that for me on the back end when it's sent to me. But that would be where I would start. That not every crypto, even if they're all called the same thing, exists in the same place. And if you're getting invalid address, that's great. That shows me that there's some front end development happening in these consumer apps that are protecting you from just whiffing your crypto off into the ether and never seeing it again.
There once was a time, like John Whalen is talking about in the comments and Alex is saying, where if you sent crypto to an address that wasn't set up to receive it, it was gone forever, baby. Good luck. No calling customer service. You lose. Goodbye. It's important to understand that when we talk about, you'll hear people in crypto space say L1s a lot. Blockchains are networks, and the foundational layer where these tokens all live is at the first layer, layer ones. These are networks like Bitcoin, which is a network, and it is also the name of the token that settles all the transactions on the network.
For anyone curious, I have a layers in 60 seconds that is maybe 7 or 8 videos back on my page. I think it's called Layers in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good helpful explainer. But the TLDR is that if you have cryptocurrency, it's a token, and that token may live on many different networks because people in different places want to use it. You can think about it like having a file type on your computer, a JPEG, a PDF. If I send Alex a JPEG when his computer needs a PDF, then he's not going to be able to open my file. The contents of the file may be the same. This is very similar to if I have the Ethereum token living on the Ethereum network, but Alex needs to get it in Avalanche format or in Solana format, or Bitcoin lives on many different networks. It often happens that these wallets like Crypto.com, like Trust Wallet, default to one network or the other, or that you went to a place, bought a thing, and it was in one format or another. And the way that you can figure that out, usually, the way I have found is most of these wallets where you hold these assets, if you click into your asset to the screen where you can buy or sell or transfer, there's usually some extra information about the token, how much you have, maybe when you bought it, maybe what it cost you. And usually you'll see a little ticker, not the token ticker like BTC for Bitcoin, but something that will say BEP20 or BRC or ERC20. These are the token standards. This tells you what network they live on and what kind of token they are. And unfortunately, that's one of those things that you just got to have a little time in the space to know. The wallets, like Alex said, have gotten better, but they're not always very clear. I need to make sure I'm sending BEP20 tokens to BEP20 addresses and ERC20 tokens to ERC20 addresses. And if you want a quick primer on this, after you watch Alex's Layers in 60 Seconds video, Google token standards or BEP20 ERC20. What would you Google?
This is a great prompt for me to do token standards in 60 seconds today.
Yeah, token standards in 60 seconds, honestly, is the video we need, Alex. Can you get on that?
Yeah, do it as soon as we're done here. Cool. But no, I mean, Evan, I think the comparison token standard file type is a really good one. That is probably the easiest way to begin thinking about it. That's usually how I phrase it to people as well. Just that, the exact same way that not every program can open every file type, not every blockchain, not every wallet can hold every token standard. And actually, interestingly, this was one of the problems with Solana NFTs in the beginning of Solana NFTs when they first came onto the scene, which, dating myself a little bit, but I vividly remember when the very first NFTs were minted on Solana. And the thing that was happening is that on Ethereum, for example, there was a native token standard that was accepted for NFT minting. On Cardano, on Multiverse X, they have native token standards for NFTs, meaning that NFTs are native tokens. They're not contract living. Don't worry about, sorry, that's a little bit in the weeds. The point is that Solana did not have anything. And so people were just sort of picking one out of a hat of options that they had. But then NFT marketplaces were not necessarily built to support all of them. So people would try to list one that was standard A, but the marketplace only accepted standard B, and you would go to list it and it would just disappear forever. And it was just chaos. So luckily the community sort of was like, hey, this is a dumpster fire. Can we please just politely agree to only use A? And then it was like, okay, cool, we'll just use A. But it was still a problem. It was very interesting. You could go to ChatGPT right now and just be like, hey, some nerd on the internet was just describing to me Solana's problem with NFT native token standards. Can you dumb it down? And you'll get a pretty good answer. But yeah, it's a token standard is a good one. I'll do a 60-second in that one. See if I can slim that down. But
and side note, before we segue, there's a question here, but I want to get to your list because I know you have a big, beautiful list. If you're not using ChatGPT instead of Google, that is the hack. That is the hack. You are not too late to start using GPT. You talk to it like you'd talk to your friend, and you can sign up for free and have a variety of cool conversations with it. Everything from, can you show me 10 vegan restaurants in Memphis, Tennessee, to this weird guy on the internet just explain token standard. You can have typos in your message. It will know what you're saying, and you can talk back and forth to it and have a helpful conversation. And then you should always verify what you get there, but at least you have a really good start of inquiry versus you're on Google and you don't even know what to type. And now you got to sift through 20 different links before you actually get to find, is this a good answer to my question?
So couple little rapid fire things. One, Evan, fun tidbit. Yep. I am working on a lengthy video that's going to take a long time to finish because lots of data is still being accumulated, but I've unknowingly started accumulating an interesting case study through the lens of my father, who is going through different blockchains and then telling me what he thinks about them. Mm-hmm. And so I'm getting the top 20 blockchains through the lens of a 30-year software engineer, PhD, whatever, however I brand him to make it as cloudy as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting. And one thing that he has said so far that was really validating was that, my God, Multiverse X is a mess. If you go there and you try to get into the library and the try to look up just how to start building things and what to do, he's like, you got to be raised in this. Any seasoned developer is going to show up over there and be confused and not pleased. So he's like, I'm not even going to touch that right now. That I took one look at it and it was like, no, okay, this is not the way you set this up.
Poor dad, yeah. Oh man.
So other quick thing, I don't know if Mike has an open request to come up, but he was going to lend a little bit of engineer and developer credibility. Mike, if you have a minute, toss a request up and Evan will bring you up and we can interrupt whatever we're doing to hear from you quickly about, I know Bill Split you mentioned as being a way to kind of fix maybe some of these things. And you mentioned potentially a rebrand. We could yap through that for a quick second. The other thing so yes, I did have a big list of stuff that I wanted to go over. We don't need to get into necessarily all of it. There's probably multiple episodes worth of things to discuss, but I was listening to and then reading stuff from this guy who I only just discovered the other day, Rory Sutherland. Evan, have you ever heard of him?
I don't think so. No. Is he
British guy? British guy. He is apparently the if not one of, if not the granddaddy of marketing and advertising. He is what's his company is He's the vice chairman of Ogilvy UK, which is a British conglomerate that does about $5 billion a year in revenue. Written several books, and he's just been an authority figure on marketing and advertising for many, many years.
Okay.
And there's a very interesting, I say interview, but really it's more of a lecture from, what is that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail you. It's a new feature. It's called Notice Board. I just thought it would be helpful. I wanted to see what it looked like. I can put text in a spot so that we can say, like, it's the riseupmorningshow.com. Go there, get our resources. I'm sorry, Alex. Ogilvy.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. I didn't know we could do that. That's sick.
Yeah, I'll play around with it later, but I'm gonna let it sit there for just a second and see if I can.
Cool. No, I didn't.
Remove it. It's cool.
Can you add like subtext to it? Like how much can you write into it?
Well, I think
like could you? I mean, you could say
when
that
I pop it up, it's a little black space, and it only allows me at this time. It appears to add one text box. If I I can duplicate it. Check that out. I could do snap, son. You ready for this? I could do a whole rainbow. I'm not going to do a whole rainbow, but I could make it's going to take a minute. I could make every instance of it a different color. I'll have to play with it when I'm offline and figure out what we want it to say.
Because you could, I mean, that would be a way better way to have the shows thing, the Discord link, and then just like a little, dude, okay, great.
Talking about Ogilvy, I'm going to get the Discord link in there too, and one more thing. So pardon me if my eyes are glazing. I swear I'm working.
No worries. Anyway, he was not talking about Web3 and crypto, but of course you can extrapolate from the wisdom of this guy's general marketing philosophy and apply things to the way that we think about cryptocurrency and Web3 and the way that these things are advertised to us. And just honestly, also the way that consumers are now intaking things that they're being advertised to. I sort of had an epiphany when I was listening to him talk, and I'll share the interview. So there's a YouTuber named Simon Squibb who talks a lot about business development, business creation, marketing, brand strategy, that kind of stuff. He's walked a number of companies to full scale growth and high ticket value acquisition. He's pretty interesting. He's got stuff going on TikTok as well. Definitely a bit of an influencer now, but he's got some cred to back it up. I've learned a lot. Definitely recommend. I'll drop a link to in the Discord for this Rory Sutherland interview, and it's mostly Rory just yapping with Simon barely getting a word in edgewise. It's kind of funny, but you can tell this is a dude with just decades of experience. And one thing that he said that really stuck out to me was that we collectively do not appropriately value the totality of circumstances around a product. And what I mean by that, because that's kind of a bullshit sentence when I think about it.
Sure.
Speed, convenience, timing. And I've heard Chris Do talk about this too. Like, Chris makes the point, hey, if
also
you
worth a follow.
Chris Do, 100% worth a follow. Learned a ton from him as well. He makes the point, there's a phenomenal lecture study where he's like, hey, if you hire me to do a logo for you and I finish it in a day, what's that worth to you? And then he kind of walks this guy through this evolution of okay, well, what do you really value? The end product or the time that it took? Because are you just buying me for speed, or are you buying me for the product quality you're going to get? And Rory's point in that same vein was hey, when we talk about the invention of the freezer.
Okay.
Yes. No, and trust me, this is why I want to make a TikTok about this, but I'm really struggling to put it concisely because it's kind of like a long-winded thought. So I'm kind of working through this live with all of you guys right now, and you're just all my victims. Yes, Ice Blue, I will type the names of everyone down here in the chat moment. Or Evan, maybe you can hook me up.
I'll get it. I'm almost done with this beautiful, beautiful notice board.
No worries. Okay, bear with me. Freezers. We're going to walk from freezers to crypto. So Rory's point here was, when the freezer came onto the scene, it made a lot of things about food storage and preservation more convenient, but it also made them healthier, because now you could preserve food for longer without having to use so many preservative methods that are unhealthy. And interestingly, we've now walked to a point where frozen food is typically cheaper in the grocery store and looked at collectively by society as being less healthy for you, even if it does not contain all of the same preservatives and whatever, just because it's got that stigma of like being frozen food. We think about the TV dinner, because of course there's shitty frozen food, right? You think about, a hungry man compared to a fresh prepared dinner, right? Like, of course, the hungry man is worse for you than the home cooked meal of fresh food and whatever. But if you take something just like frozen strawberries, where the only ingredient in the bag is strawberries, I can buy a 5-pound bag of strawberries for this frozen for the same price, if not cheaper, than a box of fresh ones that's a quarter of the size in the same grocery store. And as he was yapping about this, I'm thinking to myself, like, holy shit, we think about crypto in a very similar way, where we are constantly placing value and by extrapolation, a high token price and an inflated price action of a cryptocurrency based off of a metric that really doesn't matter, that really doesn't truly contribute or influence its actual value as much as the things that we should be considering. So I would think about, like, if you take my biggest example here would honestly tie me back to Ethereum. Slower, more expensive than, I don't know, Evan, pick the shittiest blockchain you can think of that is fast and cheap.
I'm going to say XRP, man. XRP. Okay. It's fine, but it's, too much baggage.
No, it's okay. It's a valid example that is ire inspiring. I was thinking more of like just some crappy fringe, like
like, I don't know, Core. Sorry, Core. I don't know. Cardano comes to mind.
Well, how about let's split the difference and say Pulse chain.
Oh, okay, great. Let's save me for myself.
So Pulse chain, right? Where, yes, it is faster and cheaper than Ethereum. And if we lopped the conversation off at that and only placed our valuation based on the fact that it is faster and cheaper, we would be missing very important context and very important information about other things that Pulse has going for it that we are overlooking, because we are only focusing on one sort of vanity metric, and we're not considering the reason or the trade-off. Why is Ethereum more expensive? Why is it slower? Why is Pulse faster? Why is it cheaper? Right? And then we start getting into conversations about centralization versus decentralization, about the security of a network compared to the security of another network, and just all of these things that are maybe a little bit more boring to talk about or require a little bit drier reading to kind of get into. But I just thought it was a really interesting thing that, like, there is data and marketing philosophy going back 50, 60, 70 years to consider here when we're talking about the way that we do this. And people in Web3, when they advertise, we kind of walk into Web3 marketing and Web3 advertising and shilling tokens and shilling crypto projects to each other. And we are not considering decades of marketing precedent about what sorts of ways that people's psychology works when they are advertised something. And I just thought it was really interesting. It's like a way that Web3 marketing really truly needs to evolve, because we just leave way too much important information on the table. And inherently, there is just the added risk, that because we are advertising something inherently complicated to people, there is an inherent misunderstanding of most of the fundamentals of this technology. So you can't even be appropriately advertised to. If I tell someone who doesn't understand what a blockchain even is, that, like, yeah, but my blockchain's faster and cheaper, that one's slower and more expensive. To you, the person who does not know anything about this, is brand new, just got here and is trying to figure out kind of what's what. you hear that, it would be a totally natural assumption to say like, oh my God, well, of course, that one is 10 times better. And I think that's why you get such sycophantic tribalism from new people in the space who swing in and the only thing they know, ETH, slow, expensive, pulse, fast, cheap. And there's just like a fucking dissertation's worth of information that you're missing that is super important. And I think that really, I'm walking myself to the point, like, you just got to keep learning. You got to keep learning about this kind of stuff. Yeah. I'll pin the interview. It was super interesting. And I would challenge you to listen to Rory talk and think about how you can apply all of this to crypto and Web3 to expand, you know, the way that you are allowing yourself to be advertised to about cryptocurrency that people would like you to buy from them.
Very well. We'll do it.
Mike.
Okay, Mishiste. You've been sweet. You've been kind. We're sorry we kept you so long in the box. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good. I know Alex asked you to comment on, was it token standards on Sol versus ETH? But I also want to hear you talk about, are L2s parasitic? Is ETH not going to make it?
In my opinion, no, L2s are not parasitic, and yes, ETH is going to make it. So that's the short answer. Yeah, the long answer is like L2s help Ethereum to scale. And I think that the ball is really in the court of developers to create something that consumers want. And once that happens, and I'm talking like something at scale, then this whole conversation about, oh, Ethereum's not getting fees will stop, because it will be back to what it was, you know, back in 2021 or whatever, where it's breaking down from the traffic. So it doesn't take much to do that. And it's really on the responsibility of developers to make something that people want.
Don't you think, Mike, it could also be that like the ETH, the core devs could also pursue scalability of the L1 in a manner such as sharding, or something else that other L1s have done to make their blockchains cheaper and faster, which would add value for L2s, but it might give ETH a little more skin in the game and ability to, I don't know. I feel like it would also, an equally valid path to growth, and possibly better, because it strengthened the foundation these companies are building on.
Is like, as far as I know, proto dank sharding is still happening. Is that not happening anymore? Like, it's still on the roadmap, right? Yes,
but my understanding is that this is that right now what they're worried about is like blob space, and that they're delaying those things. And maybe I misunderstand it, because I'm not an engineer. I'm not an architect of, you know, these systems. Blobs being the focus right now. I thought bank sharding was like, you know, it's here.
Yeah, I mean, they've said it's going to happen for a long time, and it hasn't. And that just seems to be par for the course. But I think that's just what happens when you're doing something decentralized. It just moves a bit slower. And also, when you're doing something that has billions of value at stake, it's okay to move slower. So I think L2s are a good compromise for now, in terms of spinning up. This is what happens in corporate enterprises too with tech teams. It's basically spinning up smaller teams to move quickly under sort of like their own rules, really, that ultimately power the greater good. So that's like an L2 really is like, you know, there's Base, there's Arbitrum, there's Optimism. There's a whole bunch of these L2s that are basically teams that are trying to achieve what they call, like, you know, stage 1 decentralization and beyond. Right now, they're not there yet. But until they get there, they're moving incredibly quickly. They're making something that is actually usable for developers because it's fast and it's cheap. And then it ultimately settles on Ethereum. And I think that we have to start from somewhere. So we're starting from there today, and we have a path to decentralization, so that I think, like, anybody who's making the argument that L2s are parasitic, I haven't seen a good argument about like why that's the case long term.
I think it's the case because many of the models have made VCs rich, have incentivized them to extract from ETH, even as they add value to it by extending it. And because on some level, even though there is a path to decentralization, and I'm paraphrasing, because I tend to agree that they're not, they rely on trust me, bro. You know what I mean? And the incentives ultimately are for me as a VC or me as a company to enrich myself, and care for myself more, perhaps in the short term, than, you know, the base layer. That I think is the argument.
Okay. I mean, I know that there's like, the Optimism Foundation. There's at least in what I'm seeing is there's incentive for these L2s to become decentralized and make Ethereum more decentralized in the long term. And that's
certainly
actually
long-term people playing long-term games.
yeah, yeah. And I also think that, there's a culture currently, and that's probably where this whole conversation came from. There's a culture that values that vision of decentralization. And when they see something that goes against that ethos, there's pushback, and rightfully so. So I'm glad that the conversation's happening. But I also would be interested to hear what folks would think is a good alternative to making Ethereum more scalable.
Yeah. Check out that episode on Unchained. I'll ping it to you. Alex,
Okay.
what was your question for Mike? Because I don't want to misrepresent it.
I didn't have a question. I just
You
had.
said if you can come up here, you can give some context to something.
Alex was talking about getting paid in USDC or USDT on different chains and the back and forth that needs to happen. And I wanted to talk about like an app that I think can fix that.
I want to hear it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
sorry,
So
that was the question. I just wanted him to talk about the thing that he's working on. Well, I know you're working on multiple things, but specifically the bill splits. I saw you post about that a little bit ago, so I'm curious where it's at. And
yeah, a few weeks back, I posted this app I made called billsplit.xyz. The thing that I'm focused on right now is I'm trying to make apps that the user doesn't feel like all of the pressure of understanding what a chain and wallet and all this other stuff is, and they can really just get the thing done that they came here to do. And bill split is the idea of like you're out to dinner with your friends, you put your card down, and now everybody owes you money, and so everyone whips out Venmo or PayPal, or if you have friends traveling internationally, it's even harder than that. And so this basically lets you say like, all right, everyone owes me $10 each. You spin up a quick link, they scan it, or you text it to them. They show up, they pay in whatever token on whatever chain that they have, and it settles in USDC on Base for you. And that, like, I think stuff like that is really powerful, where the chain and the abstraction of like whatever token you want is also really cool. I think that's really powerful. One thing that I can't crack the nut on yet is fiat. How do we go from fiat to an on-chain transaction with the least amount of friction in between? That's a really tough nut to crack.
It is tough. And for people who don't know, right now, a lot of crypto relies on traditional financial infrastructure to solve that problem. You need to have a bank, or you need to be accepted by a credit card company, or you need to have access to, I don't know, a Bitcoin ATM, or a friend who is willing to allow you to trade your cash money for cryptocurrency. Are you poking at any particular solutions right now?
There's a few models about how you can do that, and I think one of the core differences, well, aside from things like know your customer and anti-money laundering laws and all of that other stuff, all the compliance, there's these other like fundamental differences between crypto and fiat rails that make it difficult to be compatible. And I think the key difference is when you spend fiat, you can get that back. So you can swipe your card at Best Buy and buy whatever, and then you can tell your credit card company that was not actually what happened. That was fraud, or that was that was not you, and that money could be returned to you. Now if that's not true, if you're lying, that's a crime. But what I'm trying to say is Best Buy could recall that TV, and then you can get that money back, and you can reverse that transaction. That doesn't exist in crypto. Once that crypto leaves, that crypto is gone, and there is no mechanism to recall that crypto. And so, if you were to buy crypto, say like with a credit card from me, and pay me $50, and then I send you some crypto. Now, I think there's probably some compliance things I'm overlooking there. That's probably not okay to just do that. You could tell your credit card company that wasn't the transaction you authorized. And then they will ask me as the merchant to pay back the $50, but the 50 USDC is gone. I can't get that back. And so that's a little bit of an issue. So that's just one hurdle, but there's things like that.
What if so this is a problem we've talked about before, Alex and I, because it's also closely related to the problem of airdrops and escrow. Why isn't there a feature that allows you to approve or deny things people wish to send your wallet. If it's a junk airdrop, if it's a scam NFT, like an email filter, that would function somehow like escrow. And I wonder if the example you certainly looked at, I'm sure, is bridges. A lot of bridges are manual. For people who don't know, if you encounter the problem Alex described earlier, where maybe you have a token that lives on one network and you want to send it to someone else or even yourself in a different format, like, you bought some Bitcoin on the Binance network, but it needs to be Bitcoin on Bitcoin's network, you would use a service called a bridge. You send this bridge your tokens, and they create either automatically or manually a way for you to redeem the other format. It's like trading dollars for euros or something like that. And in the interim, I don't know all the different ways to do it architecturally, but there is a way to match like you as the sender and your receiving wallet as the only eligible claimer to pick that thing up. I wonder if you could do something like that. Or something, to create something like escrow, or use synthetic assets to create effectively like a voucher. If I pay you, Mike, but what you get is the synthetic asset and it's a voucher reclaimable by a smart contract. I don't know how to make it trustless. Then after 30 days, your asset gets swapped for the base asset. You get paid in synthetic Bitcoin, and then 30 days from now, when we're like, yeah, no fraud, whatever, it's good, it settles, and your synthetic Bitcoin becomes Bitcoin. And it's facilitated by a smart contract that just yoinks it out of your wallet or redeems it wherever it lives.
It's clever. I think the problem you're going to run into is when you're buying the crypto with your fiat, it's because you want to do something on chain. And I would venture to guess that the protocol or whatever it is you're going to be interacting with is not going to accept those vouchers. They're going to be accepting USDC, ETH, something like that. And so you can't really do anything with that voucher.
Yeah, if the voucher was a synthetic asset, though, like CBBTC, for example.
Oh, then maybe I misunderstand what you said, because you can't recall CBDCC from a
I'm saying if it was something like that, meaning if it was a synthetic asset that lived on chain and could be a token, all the things a token can be programmed.
Okay, so I do understand. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like that synthetic asset would not be accepted by anybody. Nobody's gonna take that.
Yeah, but that's such a good solution to a problem that eventually, if somebody like Coinbase said, "Hey, we've got a solution and you've never heard of it before, and this is what it does, do it with us," and they have however many hundreds of thousands of customers who would want to use that service, then people would use it. I think that's my theory.
Yeah, and I think and there's some Bitcoin maxis out there who I think say that's like kind of like what CBBTC is, in the sense that like the Bitcoin is actually held by Coinbase, and so it's not held by you. And like, even though they promise a 1-to-1, it's like a little bit of a trust me bro situation. And like, there is some of that, but I think that Coinbase has earned the reputation that they have over the past decade of safely custodying Bitcoin. But I understand that there's also a whole segment of people who think that that's the antithesis of what it's all about. And so there's probably a place for both people in the crypto sphere. This is a little bit of off tangent now. My original issue is like funding wallets from fiat to crypto, and how we do that, which I think is still a really difficult issue. There's an app called Sofamon that is relatively new. They're like custom Telegram stickers, and they have this really great onboarding flow. It looks like you pay with a credit card on Stripe, and then they fund your wallet with crypto. And I think it's probably doing what I just described, where they take on the risk of a chargeback or something. I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but the flow is really nice, and the flow feels really smooth. And so, it's probably going to take a little bit of like finagling, but with projects like that to kind of showcase what's possible. If we could really just figure out how to do that at scale, that would be huge.
100%.
Yeah.
I honestly, I really can't wait, Mike, until the day we get to hang out, and I would like to just go down this I would love to go down rabbit holes with you all the time. And I hope you don't feel like it's pedantic, because I'm not a technical person, but Alex and I love to have you.
No, yeah, it's great. And I saw your live streams of you playing music, and I was like, I'd love to have this guy at my wedding jamming, rocking out, and getting the crowd.
Oh man, listen, you just tell me when. Anytime there's a celebration, ceremony, campfire, wedding, bar mitzvah, divorce, you call me, man, and I'll be there. We'll play for food and NFTs.
Right on. Well, Alex, if you ever want to give that bill split thing a try, and let me know if you think that it would be worth me rebranding it for more of like an invoicing type of situation, I think that's a really good use case.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, to send us the
No,
link.
absolutely.
We'll try it live on the stream.
Like I told you, I would love to get access to test all of these things that you're working on and be your media department while you're just cranking out these consumer apps, because like I said, we talk about it all the time. What are we missing in the space? We're missing just like shit for people to do with all this goddamn crypto that they bought. And instead of just like sit and wait for the number to go up, like I just have that meme in my head of like the guy poking the thing with a stick, just like, come on, do something. It's like, okay, can we please just start getting some developers who are not focused on launching freaking more tokens for me to buy and giving me things to do with all of the tokens that I already bought? So yes, I want to test it all, dude.
Well, my next, I have a lot of, there's like a long list of things.
Yes, give us some alpha.
Yeah, well, one of the ideas that I had driving in the car over the weekend was look at that, split the bill. There it is, yeah. So instead of like create new split, maybe you could say like create new invoice or something. I don't know. But when you click that, you can basically just like say how much you want to split. If you want to go ahead and click that.
Do I need to connect my wallet?
No, you could just click create new split and it'll show you what it looks like. So yeah, you just say like how much you're owed and then how many people there are. So say you did a job for $100 or whatever, $50. Okay. And there's one person who needs to pay because it's just your client. And then you would just like connect your wallet and then create it, and then you could actually see what one of these looks like. So Evan, if you want to just maybe go back to the homepage, and then you can connect your wallet and do whatever.
Connect. I think I'm gonna have to get a password or something. So let me set you down. My computer's slow, Mike. So tell us about your other idea, and I'll walk through this.
Well, I was going to say, why don't you just go back to the homepage and show them what one of the split pages look like. So you just go to that bill split homepage, click pay split, and then I don't know, like number 1 is probably a good one to check out. You enter the code 1.
Okay.
And then click join, because like you could give your friends a code instead and then join one. So then you can see like this is like requesting 50 cents, and then if you connected your wallet, it would show you like a way to pay. But anyway, this is like, it's just simple. It would just show like a pay button, and then they pay in whatever token that they want, and it settles in USDC on base without them feeling any friction. So, So,
Mike, for what it's worth, I know you were kind of tossing around like a branding sort of thing or changing. I like create a split. I think that's like a very typical like experience that I would expect personally if I was like trying an app, that there would be, like the replacement of a word that is, boring, like invoice, with the thing that makes me or reminds me that I'm like in here using this product. So I would keep it personally.
Yeah, I would keep it. The copy is perfect. The arrangement is perfect. The only thing I'm not sure how I feel about is this logo, which is a pizza made of dollars cut into 6 slices. I get it. It's cute, but when it's that tiny, man, I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I made that with ChatGPT in like 10 seconds. I'm not a designer. So yeah, if you have a good one, give it to me. By the way, the Base Token Store won the On-Chain Summer Hackathon. And I think
and
I think it largely had something to do with the way that it looked. And I'm not a designer, right? So
100%.
So a quick story on this is like, in the beginning when I knew that the idea had legs, because like Brian Armstrong retweeted it, there was a lot of like activity on Twitter about it. I was like, all right, I'm going to go with this idea. I just don't know how to make it look good. So I put it out there in like the socials, and I said, hey, is there a designer out there who wants to make a logo for this? Because, I'm not good at logos. Everybody in the comments, and by the way, this is not a knock on them, but everyone in the comments said, I'll do it for $100. I'll do it for $150. I'll do it for $200. And that's fine. Like people have to eat. But this one guy sent me this huge Figma file. Figma is like a design tool of the entire app, completely redesigned. And that's what you see right now, for free. That same day, just gave it to me. Said, I love building stuff. This is what I think it should look like. And I was like, dude, this is insane. And I built it that day, and I launched it. And we won. And I think it largely had to do with the Figma that he sent me. So I sent him 15% of the winnings, which I think for one day of work is pretty darn good. But I also think it had a lot to do with the win. So he made probably 10 times what people were asking for as a commission. And so I think that just was like a little bit of like a story of just like, go ahead and build. If you build for fun, I think there's a place for you. I think there's something to having like a connection or a passion for what you're doing that could result in success if you just kind of like, if you just start putting things out there and just taking opportunities as they come up. I'm not saying work for free. I'm not saying work for experience. I'm not that guy. I understand that everyone needs to eat, but I thought that was a pretty feel good story.
Definitely. I
Yeah.
mean,
I remember when that happened.
Yeah. Anyway, I think I don't know where we were going before that, but
you were telling us about an idea you had, I think, on a drive the other day with relation to Split the Bill.
Yeah. So this is a different app idea, and the idea came from the fact that CBBTC is now available on Base, right? And I was driving somewhere, I think like maybe to like my aunt's house or uncle's house or something, and I remember them saying back in like 2021, like I want to buy Bitcoin and I don't know how, and even Coinbase is a little bit of a difficult thing to get set up on if you're not technically savvy. There's KYC, right? There's all this like sign up process, this onboarding process, and with Base, if you want to buy CBBTC on Base, you really just need to spin up a smart wallet with your thumbprint or your Face ID, and then you could buy CBBTC. So the app idea was like, all it does is let you buy and sell Bitcoin. It doesn't do anything else, and it uses smart wallets and it uses Base. You open the app. There's just two big buttons: buy and sell. Shows you the price of Bitcoin, and you just buy Bitcoin on the phone. And I try to make it as simple as possible for people who want to buy Bitcoin but maybe don't know how. So that was the idea I had. I don't know how that resonates with people or if it's worth investing in, but it was my.
Let me tell you, Mike, the timing on this could not be more perfect. So I just had a conversation yesterday with someone who had tuned into the show and reached out. Kip, if you happen to be watching, pipe up and make yourself known. So Kip owns and runs a physical crypto bank that is in Atlanta, Georgia. It's called Anytime Capital. It's just right there in the city. You can walk into the front door the same way you would walk into a Chase. And he is a licensed bank in the state of Georgia. He is a licensed and regulatory compliant money transmitting business. He's a certified legal money custodian. He's not FDIC insured yet, but that's one of the next things. I didn't know that there was 45 different certifications and licenses and registrations that banks have to have for all of the different intricate pieces of the network. I learned a lot. But the thing that they do is just frictionless buying of Bitcoin for people. And they do other crypto as well. He basically said anything that's not going to get me shut down. But he's like, so I'm not going to buy, Doge Elon sperm for you. But Tether was another really big one that they sell a lot. And he was like, and most of my business is someone walking by or driving by and they see this physical location of a crypto Bitcoin bank, and you can just walk right in and sit down at a table with a person and buy some Bitcoin with whatever they do, the standard kind of if you were to walk into a bank and open a checking account kind of thing. And I was just like, I've never seen a location like that before. Of course, we've seen ATMs, but those are automated machines. There's not a human standing next to it, sitting at the table with you, talking you through the thing and doing whatever. And he was like, and there's a tremendous amount of people that walk in that say the same thing, that I sat down to try to get into Coinbase and there was just all this stuff and it was confusing or whatever. And I just want to I just want to go to the bank and do this. But I would like exposure to this asset and whatever. And that's where all of the business comes from. It's just the fact that it's fast, it's personal, and there you go.
Familiar.
Yeah.
So are they custodying the Bitcoin?
Yes, they can. He basically said that they can and will, or you can, of course, submit to move it to your own cold storage if you would like to. After the fact, you could buy a Trezor, and do whatever, and then buy it from the bank and then move it to your cold storage. We didn't get to fully explore the whole thing. Absolutely planning on getting him up here to talk about it and all that kind of stuff. I would love to go up and visit it because I'm only a few hours away, but. It's called Anytime Capital. They have a LinkedIn. Go check it out. It's super cool.
Business. You can Google it. Alex, do you know if they're offering yield? now with CBBTC? Because that would be the second product, I would say. It's like, and you can park it with us, and that would be the advantage of Bitcoin versus dollars, and you can earn this much, and we'll hold it for you, and we'll just pay you.
So I will tell you that one of the first things that happened when he started describing this to me was my head just went with all of the things that you could do. Like, why could this be a fucking empire? Like just a chain of banks in all of these different cities where people who are overwhelmed could walk in, and there's just like people who work there that know and understand this stuff, and you can do whatever, and sit there and go through it. You could have an academy, like all these things, right? Like my head went like a goddamn bag of cats exploded. But yeah, no, I don't think so, but would be really neat. So Mike, super topical, and cool. Immediately there is value and like proof of concept of that idea for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I'm still back to square one though with like, okay, great. The app is really easy to use if you have a wallet that's funded, right? Like, so now we're back to square one. How do we get the money into the wallet that buys the Bitcoin? That's the part that just stinks right now. It stinks for everyone.
Yeah, I need to sit on that. Okay, so Mike, we obviously want you to come up anytime you have time, but we would really love in the future, like when you have moved from contract to, whatever full-time development executive team at Coinbase, first of all, for you to come back and let's do a dedicated show where we can get some inside scoop with some of your ideas, some of their ideas coming down the pipeline, whatever you're allowed to say. And also, when you hit that point and you just want to hire two guys who are the equivalent of Energizer Bunny, who will sit in a room with whiteboards around us and talk about the weirdest ideas like this all day, you just call us, man. You just call us. We'll work for donuts and ETH.
For sure. I probably need to say, like, I don't speak on behalf of them or anything like that. I'm a contractor, and everything.
We know. We're just giving you shit.
Okay.
We love you and we want to work with you.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Paul Growell, if you're watching, this is not. This does not reflect the views of Coinbase.
Yeah, Mike, just text Paul real quick and say you need an expansion of your budget. That's a thing you can do, right? As a contractor.
Subcontractors, man. Subcontractors.
All right. Well, thanks for having me up here, you guys.
Anytime, dude.
Thank you for everything you're doing. We appreciate it.
Later.
What a guy.
So, sorry, real quick. Rhythm Seeker, thank you for clarifying, because I was furiously Googling and feeling dumb. Like, how is there something this important that I have never heard of before? What on earth is KC Bitcoin? And then you corrected the autocorrect, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not crazy. Sorry, Nashville fam, listen, I'm sorry. I am understanding that you seem to be passionate about something, but you keep giving me just like random sporadic synaptic firings in one word that have covered about 38 different things. I have genuinely no clue what you're trying to say. I have no idea. You've completely lost me. If you could just consolidate your question or thought into a single comment or a couple back to back that give me a sentence. I can't just bring you up, especially given how we're going here. If you would like to come up, we absolutely have a methodology for that. Please just reach out to us in Discord or in DM so that we can chat a little bit beforehand and just get to know you a little bit, and then absolutely we can bring you up. Which again, was it? I've lost the username now. Someone I know is
Liar.
Yes, I'm gonna say someone we've seen many times in the show. I would love to hear more about the work that you do in the fraud and compliance. That's one of those things that like I bring up all the time. Like if you see a cool crypto project, like what's going to be the thing that kneecaps it in the future? It's the fact that it's just like a regulatory nightmare, and it's going to come up against so much bureaucratic red tape. Not saying I agree with that, for the record, just that it's going to happen. We talk about RWA, super interesting looking narrative. Like, I am very intrigued by it. I think it's dope. What is the most heavily regulated thing? Like real estate trading and like land sale, property sale, like there's so many rules and regulations about like selling houses and properties and
about ownership generally.
Ownership in general, yes, absolutely. Okay, so
Alex, for the YouTube people, I think your words stand. It's tough to parse together. Nashville. join the Discord and
You're killing me, man. You're
send
killing
us
me
a
now.
message that's got it all. Send us your manifesto. Send us your list of demands. Send us your social security number and your crypto question on the back of a $20 bill. But it's got to be in Discord. It's free to join. The only thing that's missing is you. And if you've got a question, we want to see it there or in the.
The thoughts are getting a little more consolidated, and I understand Ethereum is expensive. Agreed. You should check wallets histories on the Blockchain Explorer if you want to know what the wallet's done and about it before you send it money. I absolutely agree. Everyone should know how to use the Blockchain Explorer. I stand by what I say all the time. You guys are sick of hearing me say it. The number one skill you can learn in the world of Web3 and crypto is how to read information off of a Blockchain Explorer so that you don't have to take someone else's word for what's happening on chain.
Alex, you already lost everybody. Who's new? Why? What is it? Help me. Where do I even find it?
Every blockchain, as Nashville is alluding to here, every blockchain has an explorer. It's just a place where the stuff that happens on that blockchain is
It's displayed for you. It's
displayed, it's
collated,
recorded,
organized, and
accessible.
displayed. Yeah.
If you cannot, oh my God, dude. If you
I got
cannot, no, sorry, I just got like 8 phone calls in a row from the same number. Like, bro, I keep declining. Like, take a hint and leave me a voicemail. Well, actually, here, you know what? Let me make sure someone's not dying really quick.
Not dying. Okay, and really quick, I'll say by way of segue, the Blockchain Explorer is a user interface that makes it easy for you to, as a human, read all the ones and zeros that represent the transactions on a blockchain. You can see your wallet, everything that's there, anybody else's wallet, anything that's there. If you have the hash for a transaction, which is a unique identifier that every single transaction on the blockchain gets. When you hear people say, the blockchain's transparent, the blockchain is immutable, this is what they're talking about, that there is a record, a receipt. You can go look up for everything that happens there, but you need to be familiar with how the information is presented, why you need to learn how to read a Blockchain Explorer. And we've got a tutorial for it. It's on our YouTube page, which you can find by going here. Alex, is anybody dying? Do you need to go?
No, it's just the Jordan School is conducting an intruder, like, you know, live shooter training drill thing today, and they always send home a big thing because it's horrifying.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Get him a cookie for when he comes home.
Well, we spent some time talking about it yesterday, so it's one of those things. I mean, he's not a stranger. It's not his first live shooter. Plus, I mean, the last big one was pretty close to here. So anyway, okay. Nashville, I just, all I'm going to say is I respect the passion. You seem like a passionate person.
I respect the hustler. Yeah. Can you tell us real quick before you segue to your glorious notepad? I want you to take us out of the show with at least one or two of the topics from your notepad. But I'd love for you to answer this question about Propy. It's an RWA play for people who don't know. Real estate on the blockchain, tokenized real estate. You like it, right? Or like the idea of it. They're the ones with the Bitcoin mortgage, aren't they?
Yes. This is exactly what I just saying about the importance of considering compliance and regulatory clarity for stuff like this is because I think that Propy is cool, but I also know that it's going to just run up against red tape. It's going to get blocked by stuff. People are going to sue each other for XYZ. I mean, I made a video about NFTs, a weakness with NFTs the other day, which was just sort of like, as soon as we start attaching, you know, NFTs to physical devices, and bear with me for just a second, because this doesn't totally include and apply to Propy, just because there's some important nuance there. But if Evan, you know, has that mug, and I want to know that that's the mug that Evan's got on his desk, you know, he could mint an NFT that he writes, you know, notes into the metadata for that says, you know, like, I, Evan Mann, hereby certify that on this date at this time, like, this mug is the official mug of the Rise Up Morning Show.
Yeah.
And here's the mug, and here's the you know, little NFC tag that tracks this NFT. You buy this from me, I'll send you the NFT, I'll send you the mug. You have the NFT, you have the mug. The NFT represents the mug, but it is possible that Evan take the mug and send you the NFT. It's also possible that Evan send you a mug and the NFT, and that mug is not the mug, right? Like, so there's an inherent weakness there. So, you know, they're not perfect. This technology is not perfect. It cannot just perfectly solve everything. We cannot perfectly solve for all fraud and all lying and all cheating, stealing, etc. from happening just because we slap an NFT into something. Can it help? Yes. Can it secure lots of stuff? Yes. Can it work for digital only items? Absolutely. But there is weakness here. One of the things that I worry about a little bit with something like Propy is that if we start trying to NFTize or tokenize too many things, that we're just going to run into examples where people try to fuck with that. And so just because that is possible, I envision the fact where like we will have to see some legal precedents set around like, you know, the tokenization of real estate contracts and house deeds and apartment complex deeds and, you know, land and property ownership and all of this sort of stuff, just because I promise that someone is going to sue someone about this. And at the beginning, there's not going to be any previous cases to, you know, make judgments on. I'm not a lawyer. I would love to bring a lawyer up to talk about just kind of the way that like regulating and settling lawsuits in brand new things that do not have any existing legal precedent works, but it's complicated and it takes time. And it puts a lot of pressure on a judge and a legal team to like decide, because what they do is going to be used from then on to settle further and future cases. So super cool. I encourage you to go read about Propy and look at the website and see the stuff they do. I think they even have a mechanism now where you can NFTize your address, things like that. Putting a contract into a smart like putting you know, a real estate contract into smart contract form, and tokenizing pieces of it and all that sort of stuff. Like it's a little bit more possible because, you know, some of those things can be digital, but this is just one of those times when I encourage people to like, okay, take a deep breath, accept that it's really cool, but accept that it's going to be a tough road. And it doesn't just mean that it's up only for the token because it's a really neat idea. And that's what I mean. Like, you know, regulation, compliance, all of these different rules that go into the ability, you know, if I wanted to sell my house, I can't just go on Facebook Marketplace and say, hey, come buy this house. And then like, you know, Joe Schmo is like, hey, I'll Venmo you. And then I leave and they come in. You know, like if we don't do a whole bunch of other stuff, it's not a legal house sale. You know, so it's just not that easy. And that's really all I'm yammering about now.
Yeah. There was just to wrap the real world assets question up, Khalil. I know you suggested this platform, Rexus. I'm not going to do a deep dive on it right now, but there are a number of companies like this that are trying to capitalize. Alex, it's when you go to the website, it's you know, we empower you to own or tokenize virtually any real world asset. There are many companies like this right now. Some of them are trying to crack this nut. It looks to me like this is a token sale, by which I mean the second thing on their page is Rexus pre-sale stage 2, buy now. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these companies are trying to raise money on the back of a narrative. Their goal is not, let's bring real world assets to the people. Their goal is, let's raise enough money that even if we can't bring real world assets to the people, we can make a paycheck. So buy our token and then look at our roadmap and we'll see you in a year, kind of thing.
Yeah, worthwhile clarification to tie up exactly what Evan just said here.
Yep.
Hang on, let me write this down because I'm going to forget. And this is a video.
And as he writes it, I'll say this is not unique to the RWA narrative. Every narrative has companies like this whose only product is a token or the means to acquire a token while they raise money from you to build a product, a service, a thing. Most of them go to zero. Alex, I was trying to buy you time. That was a 10-second idea.
I know you're.
No, keep right. Forgive me. If you are interested in this conversation, if it's going past you or you're just like, these guys are so interesting, I want to see where they end up 10 years from now, the best way to follow us is to join the Discord.
Okay. When you are contemplating the purchase of a cryptocurrency, when you are considering investing into any crypto, remember, first, be critical. Like, assume the worst at first.
Always.
Don't go in thinking the best. Go in thinking the worst. Bring that, like, objective, you know, realistic perspective and make them convince you that you are wrong. Okay? Why do I say that? Because There are so many projects that are extremely capable and actively are contributing real value to the world, to the technology sphere, without a token. Tons of projects need to fund their ability to continue to do that. And so they create a token. The token's purpose is often fundraising. Just be aware of that. So like, are the things that Propy is doing really fucking cool? Yes. Are the things that ICP is doing really fucking cool? Are the things that Cosmos, that Polkadot, all of these things doing really, really cool? Yes. Have they contributed tool sets, code, open source projects? Like, have they, ICP and Polkadot especially, mostly ICP, contribute a tremendous amount of knowledge and value to the open source world. So many things build based off of things that like ICP as a network, as an entity, as a group of researchers, as a group of very smart engineers and programmers contribute. Yes. The token, becomes a way for those people to fund all of the research that they do. Like the token is not the value all the time. So just be critical of that. It applies to Propy. It applies to literally everything. I would say that about literally every single thing. How necessary is the token to the continuation of this company's value?
Just to show you from their website in this particular example, Alex, this might be hard to see, but I just want you to take away. If Alex and I were looking at this site, we would see that 42% of tokens are going to be sold in a pre-sale, and then 22% can only be earned by staking. So very much the incentive model is buy our token, give us money, become a bag holder, and then stay invested because we will give you more tokens. And then everybody else will see that the price has gone up because a lot of price action has happened, and it creates a chain of demand. Where is the product on this page? I don't see it. Got to be skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, before we run our horses and ponies out of here, I promise I want you to do one of those notepad top. Oh, did you say something? I think I'm loud. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. I want to hear what's on that notepad, though. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe there's nothing on the notepad, and I'm just stringing it up.
You showed me the notepad yesterday. It was not fake.
I guess you don't know what that is. It could be.
That's true. I can't see it from here. It could be your spreadsheet of ideas for names for the next Ethereum feature. I saw you laugh about blobs and dank sharding, and I knew in your head you were like, "What can we call split the bill to make it sound more Ethereum?"
Yeah.
It sounds too clear. It's not sci-fi enough.
Proto dank splitting.
Yeah.
No, I will never not be obsessed with the way that we brand things in Web3. Like the first day that I became aware that we can just call shit whatever the hell we want without any thoughts, and then Mimblewimble. Okay, the Litecoin like massive upgrade from whatever year that was that they called Mimblewimble. Like, bro, some like group of people in suits literally sat at a expensive table in a conference room and proclaimed and then wrote down and then voted out the door the name Mimblewimble. And then I think about like any doubt I ever had about Sho'em and calling the groups clumps, and I'm like, no, dude, clump is so Web3, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's one of the things that Evan, maybe we can talk about that I think is on my notepad. This is the biggest piece on the notepad. Okay. Is the definition of success in Web3. And this came up because nerd moment. There is a video game called EVE Online. It's been around for 20 years. It's widely regarded to be, one, a complicated game to get into, and two, to be one of the most intricate, robust, and well-built video game virtual world economies ever designed. The team that made EVE Online is making a Web3 game called EVE Frontier. And there are some mixed feelings about it. Thank you. And I am personally ludicrously excited about it, but worried about the token price And I think that they kind of crushed it. Like I know Evan's got a hard stop. We've got too much. There's way too much in this to like go into the entire conversation right now. So if I was to give you guys a little bit of homework, take a peek at Eve Frontier and read the way that they talk about entering the Web3 space and the way that they are building this thing out, and the light paper that they have for it. The token plan, what they say about a token, the way that they talk about it, all of these kinds of things. I will withhold all of I'm very excited about it because I think EVE Online is amazing. Hard to get into. But I will also link the Twitter Space recording from the last Simplified, where a lot of Web3 gaming experts and then my dumbass were talking about EVE Online, specifically EVE Frontier. I'll try to get the timestamp for where that part of the conversation starts, but I encourage you to take a peek. So yesterday I made you guys all read the Ninth Amendment, and today I'm saying check out EVE Frontier. So our homework's all over the place. But that's just one of the things, Evan, I really wanted to get into and do like a back and forth. I would love to have Will in there as well, just to kind of talk about the fact that we look at all projects and judge their success based on the same metrics and the same measurements every single time, when that's just like so unfair. And I think that is one of the biggest things holding the evolution, the forward progression of Web3 as an industry back, is the fact that we refuse to acknowledge when something has been successful, even if the token price cratered, because perhaps that is not the way that we need to be looking at the success of that thing. And I just think there's just too much uniqueness and too much nuance missing from the conversation about, hey, did this project moon or flop? And all we're thinking about is number go up or number go down. We don't consider any of the other stuff. And most of that stuff is 10 times more important than the price of the token when we come to like, hey, did they actually do something? Did they contribute meaningfully to the ecosystem, to the space, to the industry? Or did they not? And my proof of that is just to say, I guarantee that if all of you took 5 seconds right now, you could think of a garbage project whose token price mooned. I guarantee you could think of one. And I guarantee you could think of a really cool project whose price is in the toilet. So
well said. I didn't even realize what time it was. I'm sorry. I asked you. You did a marvelous job of being concise about. I think that is a really good conversation worth having. So I would like to have it more. Are we? We're going. Today's Wednesday, so we're going to be live again tonight.
Yep.
After dark.
After dark.
I will not be there. I have a show I have to play yet again. I'm so sorry to say it. So you're going to be stuck with these yoo-hoos. And honestly, I think as far as our hit rate with the show goes, first of all, it's dubious at best because of our track record of assigning inverse grades. But when I'm not on the show, and though there's only a sample size of one, I think it might objectively be better. I was watching some clips from the episode with Michael. I just had it in the background, and great stuff. If you want to see that, if you want to see any of our other episodes from the past, the place to do it is YouTube at Faceless Labs. But you can find that link at theriseupmorningshow.com, as well as all of our links. The link to the Discord community, to the newsletter, to buy a coffee mug, to register for a live course. And that's my final thought for the day is, if you are new to crypto or you've been here a minute and you appreciate the kind of depth and nuance that our conversations can bring when we get together, all of us, then check out the Crypto Quick Start live course or the Web3 101 course. It's a different bucket of options. You could buy a live course, hang out with us for 2 hours. You could buy the extended live course, which is like 2 hours for 4 weeks kind of thing. It will take you from zero, I know nothing, to wow, I feel confident moving about the crypto space safely. And if you already feel confident moving about the crypto space safely, then it's going to invite you into a deeper relationship with other learners just like you to understand why you're doing what you're doing, get some clarity on it, and make better, faster progress towards whatever success looks like for you. If the $50 to register for the course is too much, totally get it. You can buy a recording for $15. And if you're a premium member, then you get big time discounts. We want to do more focused live and recorded education at all price points, most of it for free like this, so that we can reach more people. And if you are one of those people, then check it out at theriseupmorningshow.com. We got everything for you there. Alex, that's my final thought. You got anything last bits? No?
Nope. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody tonight. The time that the morning show starts in the morning, exactly 12 hours from then. So 7 p.m. Central U.S. time tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern U.S. time tonight, which is in 10 and a half hours from right now.
That's exactly right. Great, man.
So right here, same place. This one will be hosted from Will's account, which is, we think he's coin_guide.
But you can find his link at theriseupmorningshow.com.
Yep. Boom. Right there. All the information is there. Find us in Discord. If you have a token that you would like to have reviewed and looked at, we are going to, if we have time, we'll pull some out of the audience and the chat during the stream, but the first priority goes to the ones from people in Discord who post it today in general. So if you have one and you're in Discord, toss it out there. If we've already done one that you name, we'll link you to exactly where you can go watch our breakdown and analysis of it and see the grade. If it's a new one that we haven't covered yet, it'll go on the list for tonight and we'll get through as many as possible. But you're going to hear it when we go live tonight. Tons of people in the chat are going to ask for tokens, and we are going to tell them all that first priority goes to the people in Discord who gave us one during the day. Will should be posting a question here soon. If not, I will do it. But please don't feel the need to wait for that. If you've got a token that you would like us to cover that we have not covered yet, toss it in general chat, and we'll put it on the list.
Oh, and then join us tomorrow on the show, because we are going to have our very own friend, community member, fellow creator, Doug.
Yes.
To talk about the wild story behind his accidental, totally compliant meme coin success with the 99 cents token. And I have to tell you, it is a thrilling narrative. I cannot wait for him to tell it, for us to get to talk about it and to tell a better story with something that causes so many people to stumble in our space. So definitely you want to tune in for that. Alex, man, how the time flies. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for being the best part of the Rise Up Morning Show. And until next time, my friends, rise up.